Thanks for joining me on the Business Agility Podcast. Today, we've got a really special guest in my eyes. It's a good friend of mine, been a former colleague a couple of times. I've got Paul Roderick, and we're going to talk a lot about how he sees the world of work changing from the agile perspective. And we're going to delve into how AI is affecting our roles, as well as the roles of those around us, what the modern workplace may look like in the future, and the changes that we've seen and what we think we'll see in the future, as well as how the Kanban method has helped him as an agilist. Let's dive in. Paul, we've known each other for a long, long time now, and we've had the fortune or misfortune to be colleagues as well.
Several times.
But just to, kind of give people a bit of an overview of your agile journey to date, talk us through it.
Well, I started my sort of second professional career as a business analyst, or data analyst. I failed at that, so they made me a business analyst.
Nice.
Which I wasn't that successful at, so they changed my job title to project manager. And then I fell into becoming a program manager. And at one point, I was working for Tata Steel and had quite a few people working with me. But it wasn't, I didn't feel fulfilled in my role. And I was really lucky this thing called Agile came along and an opportunity to become a Scrum Master come up. And I was very lucky to work with a lovely lady by the name of Petra, and she brought me into the Agile world. And then I worked there as a Scrum Master and then Agile coach. And then I moved to work in the medical world as a Scrum Master and then Agile coach. And that's kind of me today. So at the moment I work in the medical world for a company called Swiss Precision Diagnostics, with a joint venture between Procter & Gamble and Abbott.
Oh, nice. Two big units there.
Yeah,
right?
big units there.
And, you mentioned there in and around your agile journey, what's been the biggest learning for you as, a change agent, change leader over that period?
I think that the biggest one for me was that not everyone was as enthusiastic about Agile as I was. So when I first started, it seemed to be that I thought, oh my God, this can transform departments, teams, companies. And it was so clear to me how Agile can improve the working environment and ecosystem. And then I went to take it into teams. And it weren't as enthusiastic to start with.
Well, that experience, that one.
Yeah, and it was largely due to the transformation being done to them and not having any structure. Just, all right, we're going to change and we're going to bring in all these new ways of working and get into the stage where not everything lands because it isn't the right time for everything.
Yeah.
I think that was my biggest learning curve, is that there's a right time to do things. And, I was really lucky when I started my Agile journey. I had a really good mentor that knocked the creases out of me and ensured that what I was doing was the right thing at the right time. And that was yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, I love everything. I thought you were going to speak about someone else. That was quite it.
I thought it was as well.
And one of the things we did together, I took you through the KMP, so Kanban Management Professional. How has the Kanban method helped you as an agilist in your role?
Well, it's helped me a multitude of ways. The one thing I really like about Kanban is Kanban meets people where they are. So it doesn't bring in any changes. And, literally an hour ago, I was on a call with somebody who was saying, yeah, but we've already got that meeting in place. And I explained to them, well, evolution dictates whatever's best for you will stick. So Kanban meets people where they are. And when you bring it in slowly and you make sure it lands. I think the structure of it works well. Would I say I wouldn't say that I brought everything in from Kanban yet,
No.
but the levels of maturity certainly help.
Yeah, I always, something I highlight a lot, and I was doing an intro to Kanban just last week, funny enough. And one of the things, I'm keen to get across is that there's no right or wrong implementation, just different levels of depth. And when you look at it, the more shallow implementations are probably going to yield lower results. But there's no right or wrong way with it. And that's something I really like about it. For me, it really appeals to the human element of change.
Yeah.
And for a lot of frameworks, you have to change the environment for the framework to fit. Whereas with the Kanban method, there's 6 general practices.
Yeah.
And with those general practices, not everyone is going to implement them in the same way. So visualizing the work, you can visualize the work in so many different ways. Actively managing flow, you can actively manage flow in different ways. Evolving the system collaboratively, and with experimentation. How you do that is up to you. Those general practices guide you. How you implement them in different things. You can't lift and drop.
No.
One implementation to another. It just is, it's highly unlikely it's going to work. So that's something that really appealed to me about the Kanban method, and still does, because not a lot of frameworks can always appeal to the human element of change. And we're working in a knowledge work environment most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think with that, you need to appeal to the human side of change.
I think as well is that Kanban is more of a pull than a push. So the people working, like when I go into new areas, the people that you work with are a little bit hesitant. So I normally start with just bringing a daily in and seeing how they settle with that. And you typically find they get to a stage where they start to say, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And
I
then
do find as well, you mentioned about, different things don't always have to be daily. It depends how the world around you, how fast the world around you is changing, how quickly is information coming in. And for a number of teams I work with, they won't do it daily. 2 or 3 times a week makes sense for them.
Yeah.
Others, they need it daily.
I've got, funny enough, I've got some teams at the moment that are doing it twice a week. The only my challenge to that is, because that's what works for them, incidentally, and that's fine. But I've got 2 teams. One is doing it daily, and the other one is not doing it daily. Just the acceleration of progress.
Yeah, that's the higher collaboration, right?
Yeah.
That's an accelerator for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's something that's helped me no end, and there's a reason it's appealed to me, and it works.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's funny because I do it in highly technical areas and not so technical areas now.
Yeah,
And I find that the both are getting the same value.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, I liked what you said earlier. It's knowledge based. So a lot of the work now, and you think of it, a lot of work today is around the control and the use of knowledge. And most areas have the same challenges. I've gone from working in aviation, financial, steel, medical, and it's all the same challenges you face.
you do see a lot of the same patterns. I've spoken about that. Well, definitely with you a number of times, right? It's always we take on too much work. No one talks to each other, and often leadership say, "Make them agile. I'm okay." We're good, but and that's unfortunately there's a glass ceiling to that level of change, right? So, and the other one, the work that they have, they don't break it small enough to get faster feedback. But they're the patterns I tend to see. So yeah, where do you see the industry going in the future? So when I talk about the industry, I'm talking about the agile sort of approach as such. How do you see it evolving now?
Well, it's a very interesting time. Because, and I look at it like a pendulum. So the pendulum in businesses swings left to right. You've got, if you went back 4 or 5 years ago, companies in general were trying to be the ultimate provider of, I'm trying to think of the right words, of the luxury for humans. So come and work for us. We have Pancake Wednesday. And it's now the pendulum has stopped now and it's started moving back. And I think part of that is driven by AI, that the companies don't have to be so human centric anymore. So I see the pendulum, and it's not a bad thing for the pendulum to swing back, because I think companies have overstepped in terms of the being so human centric to the point where it's hurting them, and there has to be a rebalance. So how I see things moving in the future, I think that the pendulum is swinging back, and I can see that from the way companies are, and I think AI is supporting that movement. But I think that's just an autocorrect where it's gone a little bit too far to the human centricity in terms of how it's going to support moving forward. I think that in terms of the work that I do or we do in agile, I actually think the way technology is moving is certainly going to accelerate the way we work, because it gets, AI is going to get us making decisions faster, right or wrong decisions. But with both of them, what we do, we support.
Yeah.
So even if the decisions aren't the correct decisions, it's an opportunity to fail fast and learn fast.
Something you mentioned there about companies went too far on the human-centric side. I see it differently, and I'll tell you why I believe that. I think the human centricity part is really, really important. I don't think they went someplace, didn't go far enough with that. And the reason I say that is that what they thought was being human-centric, like, we've got a foosball table, you get free fruit. People don't care about that.
No.
People care about the environment for them as a human being.
Yeah.
And you can give me all the soft, comfy chairs in the world. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
What I want is the flexibility as a human being. So I don't think the pendulum swung far enough, but I don't think it swung in the right way enough everywhere. And a lot of people saw the trends of, well, in Silicon Valley, they all dress down, so we should all dress down, be more like Google, Apple, and so forth. However, the bit I think that people definitely want is that acceptance of them to their circumstances, because the way that we work has changed, in that the demand on us, it comes in a lot faster than ever used to. You think back to, when your dad was working in an office, he would have had someone opening the letters, reading them out to him. He'd speak it back. They'd type it all out. And then that was the letter. You're doing that on your commute now, on your email, on your phone. Do you know what I mean? So the pace that we work at has accelerated, but then the space for our life has shrunk. And I don't think we've corrected enough from that Taylorist, Fordist approach to work, where it wasn't knowledge work back then. It was manual work a lot of the time. So, that Monday to Friday, 8 till 6 or whatever it would have been, back in the day. We're so much more productive now in a shorter space of time, but we're still using an approach in a lot of places that was designed for that micromanagement of human beings, when we were just looking for you to bend a piece of metal.
Yeah. And I suppose you're right in terms of that. When I talk about the human centricity piece, it isn't that, and you've summed it up really well there by saying, I'm talking about how business were acting, as opposed to what people wanted. You've hit that nail on the head there. But I do think that the corrections are needed, because and you're right, it's not what people were after.
No, definitely. And you mentioned about AI there accelerating. How do you see that accelerating in our space, in the agile space?
I just finished a book on AI, and he calls it alien intelligence, which I found quite interesting. And in terms of what it can do and what it can't do right now, is it can operate and do so many things, but it hasn't got the conscious element to it. So, for example, if you asked it, and there's a great quote where it was asked to build a paperclip factory, and said, make as many paperclip factories as you can. So what in the fictitious story, it kills all the humans and goes onto every planet and builds paperclip factories. because that's the most efficient way to get to the result. So it doesn't have the consciousness there. So and you think about what we do, our role is predominantly around facilitating people's consciousness.
Yeah.
So I actually think that AI is going to be quite beneficial for the role that we do, be it that potentially there's less of us doing what we do.
Yeah.
As in, not so much the agile coaches, but the people working. You'll have less people working, which, and you and I always talk about the difference between going shallow and wide and short and deep. And what will happen as agile coaches, we will be going a lot deeper, I think, with people, and really getting the best out of them in terms of a psychologically safe environment to work, in terms of how they utilize AI and how they get the best out of it. And I think even when AI evolves further, I think for the role that we do, there's going to be more opportunity for us to support, be it that we'll also have to be working faster and smarter.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact. I'm not really seeing it too much in the customer I'm supporting, you know what I mean, at the minute. But I can see how it's definitely affecting others in their roles where companies have probably been a bit faster to adopt it, and how that is going to affect the role of the agile coach there, you know. And I think a lot of that will be in and around the upfront thinking.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting because a lot of the time, the bigger sort of leaps forward for us, you know, well, for the teams, but where we affect it in role, is challenging the execution. We've always been able to make big leaps at that upfront bit, but I think it's going to become even more apparent in that upfront, because that execution piece, a lot of that is going to get automated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can end up automating the wrong thing if you don't get the framing right up front. And that's why I see that space changing quite a lot. And then again, where we're already very, very prevalent in, you know, getting that fast feedback, learning from it and implementing again, that I don't see that changing. I see that accelerating because we're able to do it so much quicker now. And it's this bit where we slow down to speed up again. That's the bit I really see it affecting it.
Yeah, and I think that it'll enable us to run simulations. We can look to see, okay, so at the moment, I would still argue that a lot of what we do, we have to do the hard yards. You think about a waterfall model, we've got to hit the gates. I think AI will accelerate that to the point where you will be creating simulations, or will be saying, right, this is an idea, this is a concept, and it can actually play it forward. So I don't see it restricting us. And the interesting thing, and I was just thinking about this now, about the way AI is. So we've got so many versions of AI out there as well. You've got embedded into tools. So, like, for example, Jira's got Rovo, and that will actually do the work for you. It not only do, and anyone who doesn't know Jira, I'm sorry if you lost. The other tools available.
I'm jealous of your ignorance, if I'm not.
There's that. But yeah, it'll generate, it'll do the work for you. And that's the danger there is.
However, when you say it'll do the work for you, do you mean like the administration? But right, okay, that's fine.
So, and to a degree, it's not, it's like a lot of the tools at the moment, we're in the infancy of it.
I think so.
So it's still trying, be it. And another interesting thing I find.
It's an impressive infant, though.
It's the child we all wish we had. No offense to Vibe. Yeah, but it's the speed it's accelerating, and also the driver for it I find quite fascinating as well. It's the first time in terms of software, it's in terms of a product that's been driven by the inexperienced. We've never had that before. You think about a lot of the tools that are out there. They normally, someone comes along with a quite shiny, it used to be back in the day, a quite shiny little fold up, put it on the table, get his acetates out the wheels, and then it moved on to shiny PowerPoint presentations. But somebody would be pushing it on you. Now this is driven the curiosity.
It's more pull now, isn't there?
Yeah,
definitely. People are using it in their everyday life, and
we're old enough to remember how long it took us to get a microwave in the house. You'd be saying to your parents, "Oh, we need a microwave. Can we have a microwave?" And it would take years before you actually got one.
Mm.
And then, but yeah, that's quite exciting as well.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of exciting, I'm quite lucky in that you drew my attention to something that I absolutely love, and that's the 6 types of work in genius. You highlighted it to me. What hooked you to the point where you told me, dude, you need to look into this. You're going to enjoy that. Because I remember when you said it to me, I was like, doesn't sound, nah. I wasn't overly keen, but you were passionate about it. I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a go. So listen to the audiobook. From there, I was hooked very, very quickly during that book. And I really enjoyed it. From there, I've gone on to, become a certified facilitator. I've used it in my role. It's a game changer for me. But for you, what is it that hooked you?
It was a weird one. As I was listening to the book, because I listen a lot, I don't tend to turn pages an awful lot. As I was listening to the book, I found that things started to come into my head, like people I was working with, but perhaps we weren't gelling together. I was reflecting on, so some of the things it covers off is, it uses a model, as you know, called widget. And I realized really quickly that I spend a lot of my life at the front end.
Wonder and invention, yeah.
Yeah. And someone I worked with, we were always not clashing with, worked at the other end. And instantly, as soon as I sort of put the one and one together there, I got two instantly and realized, and it totally changed the way that we worked. And that and also thinking about work that I procrastinate on and work that I would sit on and it would take me weeks to do something that execution wise would be 20, 30 minutes. And but I would sit there going, I can't do this. And listening to that, the 6 types of work in genius enabled me to think, well, I'm not the right person. And it's okay. It creates an environment where it's okay to say no to work. Because
especially if you have that understanding of the ones around you, because what you're saying no to could be the golden opportunity for someone else to go, I will take that. I love doing that bit. And then flip side, right? We need to come up with some ideas. We've spoken to Paul because, and you're the odd chomping at the bit for it. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and it happens. I'm very lucky that I support a couple of teams at the moment, and I get it daily. I get it daily with somebody who's going, "Oh, I've got this piece of work to do. Well, it's been on your board for a while. Do you need any support?" No, because they think they've got to walk the hard yards with it.
No.
Whereas, I know there's somebody else in that team who would give their left arm to have that piece of work and work on it, and that's the big gear changes. If you imagine, right, working in a world where everything you do, you wake up every day and you think, this is amazing. I love doing this. And that's what 6 types of work in genius gives you, is an ecosystem where if it's used effectively, you will work on things that you love every day.
Yeah.
At worst, you will have...
minimize the...
Yeah. At worst, you'll work on things you're competent at.
Yeah.
If you're really smart, you can have a conversation with somebody going, look, this energizes you. This doesn't energize me. Do you want to pick this piece of you?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, in reality, everyone has to bite down on the gum tree every now and then and do the stuff that are frustrations to them, right? You know what I mean? For me, the frustrations was in the tenacity area and the discernment bit, because I'm a disruptor of an environment, right? And not genuinely, I am.
70s.
Yeah, invention and galvanization were my two. As genius is, but yeah, discernment and tenacity were my frustrations. I've got to get things over the line. I've got to dot the I's, cross the T's. For that. What I found though, because I have that awareness, putting stuff in place like, time box it, Pomodoro technique, break it, you know what I mean? And then go back to something else that I love. I'll rip through it because I want that. It's funny you said earlier about, you procrastinate on some stuff that 20, 30 minutes work. I find I switch rather than, it's kind of procrastinate. Like, I know that's the most important thing, but I better go and do this over here where I have to come up with the new ideas.
If you ask me for a slide deck, you have it before you finish the sentence.
Yeah.
If you ask me for to read through documentation,
Yeah.
as my boss would testify, takes me months.
It can take a while.
Yeah. But and you are right. If you spend enough time in the energized area, when you've got something that trains you, if you've built up enough momentum, you just fly through it.
It's almost like a battery level, isn't it? Yeah.
It is,
It's like overcharging it, and then you can fly through the rest. No, I absolutely love it, and I've seen it as a game changer. I don't know, I would have definitely been here with this one. Once you see it with a team, it's almost like the personalization bit for the team, as in they've come up with, their approach, they've got everything in play and so forth. But when they understand that, it just takes it up a level. So with their planning work, they're like, well, I know Paul loves that, and I know I hate it. So we start thinking about it that way, or I'll pair up with Paul on that, because when it's the time for the, invention and galvanization, I'll step forward. But when it's the part that is my frustration, but I know is Paul's strength, then he'll step forward.
I think,
Great way to pair up.
yeah, and I think that the issue with things like this though is there's so many bad books out there. You've got to go through a lot of books to find gems.
Find the gems, yeah.
Like with when you were talking then, I was thinking about books that I've read. Is going right, focus on your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Get better at your weaknesses, and going but then you spend all your time in a hellish environment.
Yeah.
And. But it says, if you need to be able to master everything. A lot of the
I disagree.
a lot of the people I know or have read about who are very successful, the reality is they focus on one thing and do it very well.
Yeah.
And they know, you think about like Steve Jobs, he was really good front of house. He wasn't the best technical. So he had
Not sure.
he had someone else in Wozniak.
Steve Wozniak.
Yeah.
I've heard him to talk in Edinburgh. It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
But the point they're making anyway is that there's a lot of books out there that are fantastic, but they're also buried in with a lot of books that will tell you things that aren't quite right.
Oh, yeah. They're all, a lot of them are opinion, right? You know what I mean? There's a lot of research behind it and stuff like that. Fair enough, in certain ones, but a lot of the time it's going to be opinion.
So that was my opinion.
Oh, real opinion. Yeah. When you think about some of those books that's made a big impact, what so Nexus you mentioned about there, you've enjoyed reading that so far. 6 Types of Working Genius, you've loved that one.
Super Communicators.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's a great book. Again, because I'm quite visual, I see people, and there's a guy I work with right now. He's just the epitome of a super communicator.
Yeah.
Nick wouldn't mind me name dropping him, but when I was reading the book, I just thought of him constantly. The way he interacts with people, the way that he's able to sit in a room and ask the right question at the right time. That one's been quite. There's so many. Never Split the Difference.
I love that one.
Yeah, absolutely loved that. Alchemy. That was really insightful. Just slightly out of my lane, but Sprint. That was one of
the design Sprint stuff for Google. Very good. I really enjoyed that.
But I'm not getting commission from any of those.
No.
But no, there's quite a few. The thing, one of the things about the role that we do, we have to keep reading and trying to keep cutting edge and finding out where. Because we're all about the 1% margins. How can we improve a team by 1%?
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, it means that we need to be invested in keeping up to date.
Absolutely. No, I think, you know what I mean, for in the space we've chosen to work, if you don't keep your knowledge sharp and at the forefront, that atrophy is going to get you lagging behind. So, from my point of view, I'll listen to a lot of audiobooks, as you know, from, I like to do it driving.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to the car. I'm joking on that one. If ever I do crash, that wasn't what happened there.
I was thinking of golf driving.
Yeah. But I just think it's a great way for, when you're driving along, if you've got a longer commute, let's say if you're going somewhere that's going to be 2-3 hours, an audiobook on, you can absorb that in what would have been dead time. Or you're probably singing along to Dolly Parton 9 to 5, right? So, you can repurpose that time and make it a lot more useful for you. I'm not saying to listen to Dolly Parton isn't fun, because I do like a bit of Dolly.
You're here first.
Yes.
It also gets you in the right frame of mind, doesn't it? You know, when you're doing a commute to listen to something. When you talk about your energy levels, I'm convinced that we've got a battery.
Definitely.
And if I don't listen to an audiobook for a couple of weeks, I feel my energy dropping. So I need to bring something in just to pick me up. I feed the brain, I call it.
Right. No, that's like, I can see that. Definitely. I also think with that battery, I'm solar powered, because if it's rated for more than about 2 or 3 days, which is quite common in the area that I live, I can get a bit grumpy.
That is
Yeah. So we've spoken about the 6 types of working genius, and how that's been a real, an important element for you in how that's taken you on as a coach. Is there anything else that you've learned about that really made a bit of a step change for you?
On my sort of agile journey, I think the big gear change for me was when you introduce things to teams and they're not ready for it. I think we've all got that story that you go to a team with best intent, you give them some cadences in place, and they just falls over because they're just like,
If there's no pull, it's very, very hard, and you can see this. But I know this is going to fix it for you. I've got exactly what you need in the back of the van. But if there's no pull for it, you're literally rolling yogurt uphill. It's hard.
Giant, I think his name is, from Gladiators. He said the other day, if you don't fail, you don't learn.
Aye, that's true.
So
Very true.
Yeah, and I think that's so. In terms of where I'm at on my journey at the moment, it's interesting. It's good to see, like this with the scaling models of agile, how they're all changing at the moment, and that's quite exciting because I think I don't think any of them are quite getting it right, and there's some great things. And I think one of the things about being an agilist is that we take things from so many different models. Fundamentally, I use Kanban, but I've stolen things from all the others to use.
Kanban's a knowledge management method, right?
Yeah.
If people from the pro Kanban movement, okay, it's a strategy, get it, that's fair enough, that's how you see it. But it's just a management method in my eyes. Whereas, you've got other than frameworks that you can look at that give you, something a bit different. I tend to find with the frameworks that I'll take bits, but not always go the 100% onto it. Because some of them, you can't complete a bit. Not unless you drastically change the environment and you've got very, very mature teams. I've been lucky to work with, certain areas over the years where I've seen some good scaled attempts deliver real value.
Yeah.
But would you, if you went through with your checklist, will you see 100% there? Absolutely not. What are you excited about learning more on in the near future? Might be in the next 6 months to a year, might be next week. Is there anything that's really tweaked your interest? You think, do you know what? I don't know enough about it yet. And I'm quite excited to.
The only thing that springs to mind is just the AI. It's exciting. It's dangerous. There's cases of where AI has fooled Google engineers into doing some crazy things, like not allowing people to switch the machine off because the machine had told it if he does, it'll die and then it'll never exist again. So that's got me excited at the moment in terms of it'll be interesting. The workplace is dramatically changing now.
That's the I think.
And it's like, you look at the Industrial Revolution, how things change, how we changed as a species, how we changed from living in fields to getting to living together.
Yeah.
And where we're at the moment is we've got this, I don't know if you know this, but this is the first time like the psychological revolution and the Industrial Revolution have met. So we're at a pivotal time in history where the Industrial Revolution is feeding the psychological revolution, as in if you were to get your mobile phone out now and you looked at it, everything on that is individual to you. Compared to you went back 10 years ago, you'd want the same as everyone else. So you'd ask people, oh, what have you got on your phone? Have you got this? Oh, no, you haven't. Oh, you've set it up like that. And you'd question and query, but now we want individualization.
Yeah.
And, the way that technology is moving and the way that industry is moving, to be able to cater that everybody can have the same experience, yet be it a totally different experience.
That's pretty much there, because if I open up, other search engines are available, but if I open up Google and you do, depending on what I ask and what it knows about me, the results are going to be different in what I get to what you get. Because it's already personalizing it to me. You know what I mean? It's using that learned, that history of what I've looked at, and it'll bring up different recommendations, and even if we're in different locations, different likes, different dislikes, and so forth. Yeah, but I think it's already there, but I think that's going further and further again.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago where the blend of IT that you'd experience was pretty much held into a machine.
Yeah.
Whereas, you think about how we got here today, sat nav.
Yeah.
So sat nav is IT laid over the physical realm.
Yeah.
So you've got the virtual realm laid over the physical realm.
Yeah.
And you couple that with what we're after experiencing as human beings. We're after an individual experience. So, it's an exciting time for businesses, because they can really, like you said about Google, can really hone in on that individual experience for you.
Yeah, that's definitely, and that's something I see with, our roles. That's definitely evolved over the last 5 years, whereas before we want a Scrum Master to come in and teach us Scrum, right? And that's still, there's still demand for that, but that demand is lower, because now we want an Agile Delivery Manager, because we can't take that framework as it is, and it's, yes, because you're not willing to change enough for that, which I understand. That's fine, right? You've got certain restrictions in place. That's going to be it's too much of a, a hill for you to climb at the moment. So where can we get the best of that for you? And that's where it's going now, is that individualization for the organization and then within the teams. Because I'm seeing that, we want to do this, we want to roll that framework out across all these teams, whereas you can't, that approach doesn't seem to be as popular anymore. What I do tend to see is a lot of that bounded autonomy. And, when you're talking about AI, that's what we have to get right, is that bounded autonomy for it to play in.
Yeah.
The hard thing is setting those boundaries in the right way that we think about it. But going back to the human, the change piece within teams, that bounded autonomy, I always use the analogy of it's the lines on the pitch. I don't care how you score the goal. I want you to put the ball in the net. How you do it is up to you. But I don't want you to kick the ball out into touch, and I don't want you to kick it behind for the dead ball. I want us to get the goal. Then let them go play.
There's a few more rules to that.
Yeah,
and that's the constraint.
That's the constraint you've got to work with. Yeah, exactly. Whereas before, I think we were trying to say those constraints should not exist, but they do.
Yeah,
and they have done. Maybe it's not even a good reason anymore, but it was a good reason at the time.
Yeah, and you bring us on to a great subject. Then this is good agile versus bad agile, where you've got I think we used to refer to them as the wizards. They would come in and say, they'd come in and say, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't do it, they would say, well, they're not agile enough, so I cannot work with them.
Yeah, they don't have they don't have an agile mindset.
They're not they're fixed, not growth.
The one I always liked was, you should do that. Okay, yeah. I don't know how to do that. How do you think you should do it? I don't know. I just told you. I have no idea. I want your help, mate. What kind of help would that?
You need to attend a course on growth, Mike. But I still don't know how to do it.
58 reflective questions and the bloke's pulling his hair out. Well, listen, thank you for coming along. I've had a right bit of fun talking away with one of my good mates on something that I love. So listen, thank you very much, man.
You're more than welcome.
Awesome. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, man.